Control the kitchen chaos and streamline your back-of-house operations with Restaurant Technologies. Restaurant Technologies' total oil management solution is the end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest job out of the kitchen and lets your employees focus on more important tasks. The total oil management solution helps prevent the burns, spills, slips, and falls that come from traditional oil management. Restaurant Technologies gives you and your employees peace of mind among the chaos of a commercial kitchen and can maximize efficiency for your business. And no upfront cost. Learn more about Restaurant Technologies and the solutions they offer by visiting rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4997.
Welcome to Menu Talk. I'm Pat Cobe, Senior Menu Editor at Restaurant Business. And I'm joined by
Bret Thorn, Senior Food and Beverage Editor of Nation's Restaurant News and Restaurant Hospitality. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Bret. So it sounds like you had a pretty adventurous week of eating. You took a trip to Philadelphia.
I did. I mean, it's a train ride. It's not that far from New York. So adventure might be a little strong, but I certainly had a nice time there. I started out by visiting Iron Hill Brewery and Restaurant and spoke to their CEO and tried a bunch of different things. The thing about Iron Hill is that it's a brewery and a restaurant, and it tries to take both of them seriously. So you have beer brewed on premise, but also food that is, it's not an afterthought. Every restaurant has its own chef and a sous chef or two. Even though they all have the same menu, they have experts who are executing it. So they can do things like fried green tomatoes, which are tricky. I had some soft shell crab. I had a prosciutto and arugula pizza. But what really got my attention was the hop water, which is an alcohol-free, calorie-free drink made from hops. That they then make into a variety of spirit-free cocktails, which have calories because they're adding sugar and flavors and stuff. But the hop water itself, I thought was really cool. And it's sort of floral in a hoppy way and something that I could see myself drinking on a rare occasion when I don't feel like having alcohol. So
does it have any beer taste at all, or like an IPA kind of taste?
Sort of like a very weak IPA, and almost a sort of sweetness to it, which you wouldn't expect since there are no calories. But I guess in the aromatics, there's something that evokes a kind of fruity sweetness that I enjoyed. I ate a lot of that food, which was a shame because that night I scored a reservation at Zahav, Michael Solomonov's flagship Israeli restaurant, and everything was great. It was a lot of little tiny salads and hummus, obviously, with like a huge kind of platter-sized piece of laffa bread. But what I really liked about it was that, like a lot of fine dining restaurants these days, it's a prix menu. So you pay, and then they serve you a whole bunch of food. I mean, in this case, I was overwhelmed with fullness by the end. That they were unsurprised. Apparently, it wasn't just that I gorged myself at Iron Hill. They served you too much food. And I went as a single person, which tends to mean that they're going to serve even more food in a prefix kind of situation. And there are a few choices you can make. You could decide whether you're going to have either lamb or fish on one side or 3 different smaller plates on the other side. And I loved that. I had a couple of fish entrees and a spiced eggplant, which was plenty. And then a delicious sort of berry Israeli kind of version of baklava for dessert. But it was also shockingly reasonably priced, I thought. For enough food for me to eat for 2 days, it was $85.
Wow.
At one of the hardest restaurants to get into in all of Philadelphia. And then I also did the wine pairing for $45, but that's pretty
reasonable too. I mean that. Yeah, I went to. He opened Laser Wolf in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I went there over about a month ago, and that's also a lot of food, but it's more geared to shareables. You know, it's not something that you would order on your own. It's not a prix. So, but they bring you like these enormous amount of like appetizers, you know, little dips and tidbits and pickles and all kinds of things to taste before you even have your fish or meat or chicken.
Yeah, they did that at Zahav too, and it really was. I felt bad that it was just me eating there because it's nice to share food with people, but also there's so much. And honestly, it tasted better the next day, so that was
Oh, good. You brought some home then.
yes, yeah. I stayed with a friend and put my bag in her fridge and took it back to New York and ate it in the office the next day, and it was great. Partly because it was a lot of marinated salads and things. I also wasn't stuffed, so. That obviously makes a difference.
Well, we also ran into each other this week at Electric Shuffle, which is a new entertainment venue that it's the first one in New York. It was opened kind of near Madison Square Garden, Penn Station, that area. And they have a lot of cocktails and food and electric shuffleboards. They're like the kind you use that are more like tables. You don't have the big sticks that you push the discs with. You just do it with your hands. But it was kind of fun.
And those are that sort of shuffleboard thing used to be popular at bars. I think there's only one place left where you can do that, except for now that Electric Shuffle is here. There was a place like downtown on the Lower East Side or Tribeca or somewhere that had shuffleboard. Otherwise, it's become a rarity, which is too bad because it's a sort of a fun, low stress kind of game.
Yeah. You don't have to be very athletic to play it, that's for sure.
No, a little teeny bit of manual dexterity, but not a lot. But I also went to family and friends night of Din Tai Fung, the Taiwanese chain known for its soup dumplings. Went there on Monday. Yeah, Monday. Went to Philly on Tuesday. And it's a huge, huge space. It's the first location on the East Coast. And the dumplings were lukewarm. So I think they need to work on that. Because one part of the fun of eating a soup dumpling is that, you risk burning your mouth if you do it wrong. But as I said, that's part of the fun, and you want the soup to be hot. However, I'm pretty sure they'll figure that out. I mean, it was family and friends night. You got to give people that's the point of family and friends night.
How many different kinds of soup dumplings did they have?
They had 3 different kinds. Only 2 were available. They had a limited menu, which they should definitely do for family night. They also had a cocktail that I didn't order. Obviously, the name of the chain is Din Tai Fung. But they had a DTF old-fashioned, and I think someone needs to let them know what DTF stands for.
Okay.
I mean, if they want to be risque, that's cool. But if they don't, they might want to revisit that.
Well, maybe you should let them know.
Well, maybe they'll listen to this podcast.
Well, I also had a chance to go to a new Blank Street that just opened in Chelsea, and they were doing some matcha drinks, and they're trying to get away from the typical cold matcha drinks that are mixed with milk or dairy. And these were mixed with fruit juices, watermelon, yuzu, and mango. So they were layered with like fruit purees and juices to make them really refreshing. That was kind of the goal. I spoke to the head of the culinary area, and that's what he told me the goal was. So they were really quite good. I'm not a huge matcha fan, and I was convinced that I might be now if I could have them layered with fruit purees.
And were they physically layered so that, it looked layered?
Yeah, they were. And then you just got, you mixed it up with your straw.
Well, after you take a picture and post it on social media.
Of course. Yeah, so they're everyone's getting into pickleball. They were tying it in with a pickleball promotion so that this matcha bar will be at certain pickleball courts around Manhattan. They're setting up a matcha bar, and they're going to serve these drinks. So people who sign up through the Blank Street app will be able to get these drinks for free when they go play pickleball.
Fun.
Yeah.
As much as you're not into matcha, but maybe you will be because you enjoy these drinks, I sort of just reflexively reject the idea of pickleball because it's trendy and popular, and therefore I don't want to participate. But maybe it's fun. Maybe I should do it. And I honestly, I like the traditional matcha that's, just a hot drink served with tea ceremony stuff. I understand why that's not immediately accessible to the American palate. It's quite bitter and,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind it up, but I guess, like we've written a lot about cold drinks are what the younger generations want. I mean, cold coffee is outselling hot coffee now, and everybody wants something cold to carry around with them. So that's why I think they're doing these cold matchas. And it's interesting because Blank Street has half of their locations in the UK and half in the US. And in the UK, matcha is much more accepted, they told me.
So, I didn't realize they were in the UK. I thought they were like a unique New York kind of thing. But
no, I didn't either, but that's what I found out.
Huh.
So,
well, that's why we go to things and talk about it so that we learn. Fantastic.
Well, I also had a chance to speak with Dan Kluger this week, the chef at Greywind. He's a really well-known chef. He's worked with some of the best in the business. I mean, on the recorded podcast we did, he told me that he started at Union Square Café, which I had no idea about. And he worked with Danny Meyer, Tom Colicchio, Floyd Cardoz. He's worked in ABC Kitchen with Jean George. He's really run the gamut of all the best restaurants in New York and the best restaurateurs.
Yeah, he kind of got a name for himself when he was
so that was really interesting. And he talked.
Now he's on his own doing.
Yeah, now he's on his own doing Greywind, which is a really interesting restaurant because it's on the edge of Hudson Yards. So they get a lot of office traffic during the day because there are a lot of offices over at Hudson Yards. And that's on the very far west side of Manhattan. And then, he's trying a lot of different types of meal service. So they have a prefix pre-theater meal, which is 2 courses. He said some people from Madison Square Garden come, if they're going to an event at Madison Square Garden, they'll come in before that. They do brunch, they do lunch. He also has a bakery, which is separate, but it feeds a lot of the courses in the restaurant, of course. They use that for the restaurant, but it's also people can just come in and grab a coffee and a bun or a croissant or some of the unique things that they have.
And those house-made Cheez-Its.
So what I found out, so they serve house-made Cheez-Its at, on their starter menu or their snack menu, but they also serve jumbo-sized ones in the bakery.
Oh, I had lunch there, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it's quite a casual place for a fine dining chef. And that makes sense. And obviously to be able to serve people over the course of multiple day parts is smart. Come in and have coffee. And that's a very low impact, high margin kind of business.
Mm-hmm. And then for the big spenders, they do a tasting menu once a month for like over one weekend. And he has a chef's counter that it's part of the bakery, but it converts into like a nice chef's counter for a tasting menu crowd. And he does, a multi-course tasting menu. So he really is trying a lot of different things, which is quite
that's smart. That's smart to do a tasting menu occasionally, because it means as the chef you get to be all creative and stuff, but you don't have to fill up all the seats every night to really focus on that. And it's also probably not the most profitable way. Although, as we just discussed with Zahav, if it's a tasting menu where you tell the guests what they're going to eat, then you can really manage that better.
True. So I want to play this first clip from our conversation because he talked about the great influence Floyd Cardoz had on him and how much he misses him.
I mean, I think so much of what I do today is because of his food. This balance of sweet and sour and salty and spicy and texture. We call it the peaks and valleys of food. I think so much of that was from him, and then I started to hone that. When I went off on my own, and then when I went back and was working with Jean Georges, I think I was really able to develop even more of that. But I think his touch was more everlasting in terms of management and overall style. But there are certainly things using spices today that very much are in line with things that we had done.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Dan also worked in the front of the house, so he has that experience from Danny Meyer restaurants and working at Tabla.
Where Floyd Cardoz was
Right.
the chef, way ahead of his time, introducing Indian elements into French food. At the turn of the century, I think Tabla opened in 98 or 99, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Floyd Cardoz unfortunately passed away from COVID, I think in 2020.
Yeah, he was one of the first to contract it that I knew of anyway. It was, really sad, but he left his legacy, that's for sure, on a lot of young chefs and on a lot of diners in New York. I mean, I used to love going there, and the bread, he had a bread bar where he did a lot of the Indian breads. So
right. It was a more casual
mm-hmm.
setting in the front, which I get, which also now that you mention it, was cutting edge too, to way back then to have a more casual element in a fine dining location.
Definitely. Dan also talked about his vision for Greywind when he was formulating it and coming up with the idea. So I will play that.
I mean, the sort of design and overall feel of it was meant to be sort of Hudson Valley home being in somebody's second home. Hudson Valley. It was designed that way. Food wise, it was very much about that sort of farm to table, much like a Loring Place, but a little bit fancier, a little more attention to detail. All the plates are handmade by local artisans, and we just wanted it to be just a sort of touch above style wise and attention detail wise from what Loring Place is.
Now, I've never been to Loring Place. Have you been there, Bret?
No, I have not. I guess it's more casual and the food
Mm-hmm.
is a little less refined, according to the chef and owner. Because I thought Greywind, as we just said, was pretty casual, although the food was definitely very looked after in this one.
Yeah, it has a casual vibe, but the food is very chef driven, that's for sure. Yeah. And he has a lot of his signatures there, like carrot hummus and the Cheez-Its we talked about, which are really a must-have when you go there. I mean, almost every table orders them because they're home-baked Cheez-Its, and they just don't taste anything like the ones that come out of the package. But they're, yeah. But if you're a Cheez-Its fan like I am, that they're definitely something I crave.
And the carrot hummus is also tasty. I had it when I was there.
Very good. Yeah.
Hummus with carrots. Good idea.
And then I mentioned the chef's table, so he talks a little bit about, how that came to be.
We have a cocktail lounge in the basement, which was always part of the plan. Off to the side of the restaurant, we have the bakery. I think we've tried to make that a really exciting, sort of standard bakery, coffee shop, but everything we make in house, from everything from the croissants or a homemade sourdough starter. We make sandwiches and salads, everything in house, and so that's a little extension of Greywind as the restaurant proper, and then that space we also use for events, and then we also do a chef's counter tasting menu 3 nights a month out of that as well.
Did you happen to ask him why it's called Greywind? Because I was wondering about that. It's the name of one of the direwolves in Game of Thrones.
Oh.
But I don't know if that was the inspiration or not.
Well, maybe he's a Game of Thrones fan, but I didn't ask him that.
No, it didn't occur to me to ask about that either. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about food. So.
Yeah, we could follow up on why it's called Greywind.
Yeah.
Later.
No, I'm very curious now as to why he named. I can talk a little bit more about how the Cheez-Its came to be, because I thought that was really interesting. So
Yeah.
they originally set out to do a pimento cheese dip as their appetizer, and it was going to be served with these Cheez-Its. But the Cheez-Its were so amazing that they decided to nix the pimento cheese dip and just do the Cheez-Its. So I thought that was a really interesting story. But I mean, he has so many other things on the menu. We're just, focusing on these Cheez-Its, but he does a really great roast chicken. That's one of his signatures that he can never take off. He always has some kind of fish dish and some lamb, and he runs a gamut. So there's something for everybody. And one of the things that he loves, he likes to tap into nostalgia. So he does this upside down sundae for dessert, and that kind of sounds interesting because it's like a deconstructed sundae, and a lot of people order that.
So that sounds fun. Although, I mean, why not just offer a sundae if you want to have nostalgia? It doesn't have to be upside down. Here's a sundae.
No, I think it's more interesting because they do like a housemate cone, and it sort of surrounds it, so it's more deconstructed than upside down. I'm really not speaking correctly, but anyway,
we're recording on a Monday. It's all good. And yeah, I've been on kind of an ice cream kick these days, just because. I mean, obviously, it's been hot enough to boil our brains outside. But it's a lovely, creamy, refreshing thing that I'm not a big dessert guy because they're not the most healthful thing to have. But
ice cream is good. I mean, you usually walk with it, so you're burning calories that way.
That's a very good point. And there is, since I won't stop talking about my new neighborhood on the Sheepshead Bay Brighton Beach border, there is an ice cream place that I've been meaning to try called Masal. It's a huge menu, but also known for its ice cream. Although yesterday they apparently have a little train that kids can get on, and they ride the train around. And it was fun. Yeah, I was sitting along Sheepshead Bay just watching the seagulls fly by, and this little tiny train came by with kids in it. It was super cute.
Well, I forgot to mention that I was out in Montauk this weekend, and I had my lobster roll of the summer, which every year gets more and more expensive. So last year they were around $36 out here on the east end of Long Island, and this one was $42. So that was a new record.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot for a lobster roll, but I don't think lobsters are scarcer. I just think people will pay it. So they're doing, it's a reaction to the market. And that's what people will pay. And it was very good. It was stuffed with lobster. It was at a place called Salivar's. And it's kind of like, it's been there forever in Montauk. It's not one of these trendy new places, which there are a lot of, because Montauk all of a sudden got trendy and nightclubby. But this one was, on the dock. It's been there for like probably 100 years. And the fishermen all go there.
And is it the cold style with mayonnaise and tarragon, or the warm style with butter?
No, the cold style. That's the way they do them out here.
Yeah, I've never been able to wrap my head around that. Because like the warm one, it tastes like lobster. You put butter on it, eat it in a hot dog bun. Okay. The cold one, why it could be chicken salad. I don't understand why to do that with lobster. I would rather just eat the lobster. But that's me. I guess it
stretches it a little because they put celery in it, and the chunks of lobster were really big, and they put it on a nice toasted roll. But I see your point. There's definitely two schools of thought here when it comes to lobster rolls. Some people like the hot buttery ones, and some people like the ones that are lobster salad.
And obviously, just because it's my taste doesn't mean that it's the right taste. If you love lobster rolls, enjoy your lobster rolls, and if you can find them for less than $40, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I know it really would be, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, they keep going up every year.
Well, if you want something a bit more casual, come visit me down here, and we can go to Randazzo's and have some delicious calamari.
Okay.
I wonder if
maybe we will do that.
And I'm near Coney Island, where the flagship Nathan's Famous hot dog place is, and they also offer lobster rolls in the summer. I don't know what their price is.
Well, even Friendly's offers lobster rolls in the summer, and I'm sure they're not $42 at Friendly's.
Right, and they're a New England-based company, so that makes sense that they would offer it there. And I imagine it's not to cast shade on Friendly's, but I imagine it's lobster and other seafood mixed in there.
Well, I'm sure it's not as overstuffed as the one I got. It was really good, so it was worth it. Worth the splurge.
Yeah, I think the last lobster roll I had was on Martha's Vineyard. Maybe before the pandemic. And it was, big and expensive. I didn't hate it, but I would rather have the warm variety.
Yeah. Well, I have to have one a summer, and we'll see what we'll eat next week. I'm going to have some ice cream. I definitely need to get my ice cream game up to gear. I haven't done my part.
Yeah, maybe after this recording, I'll go get some.
Sounds good.
I'm worth it.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. See you next week on Menu Talk.
Yes, thanks for stopping by.
Control the kitchen chaos and streamline your back-of-house operations with Restaurant Technologies. Restaurant Technologies' total oil management solution is the end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest job out of the kitchen and lets your employees focus on more important tasks. The total oil management solution helps prevent the burns, spills, slips, and falls that come from traditional oil management. Restaurant Technologies gives you and your employees peace of mind among the chaos of a commercial kitchen and can maximize efficiency for your business. And no upfront cost. Learn more about Restaurant Technologies and the solutions they offer by visiting rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4997.